I want to ask you two questions. Have you ever had your heart broken, or have you ever broken someone's heart? Chances are the answer is yes. And at some point, we're going to have to go through some sort of breakup. So in today's video, I talk about how I'm recovering from my most recent breakup and how this is so much more different than when I was handling my breakups when I was a lot younger, and how I'm building healthy coping mechanisms as a 32-year-old Asian American. Make sure to watch this video. Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin. And if you've been following my channel for the last few weeks, I've been actually talking about my experience going through a breakup. Recently, my partner of 5 years, she actually broke up with me. And she basically didn't want to focus on a relationship anymore. She wanted to focus on herself. I'll link in the cards about how I actually recently tried to save my relationship and failed, so you can watch that video over there. But in today's video, I'm going to talk about how I'm dealing with my current breakup at the moment and how I'm really trying for the first time in my life to create healthy coping mechanisms back in the past. It's really funny. Growing up, I went through 3 different stages of breakups as well. When I was breaking up when I was 17, 18 years old, I remember all my boys, they were telling me, yo Kevin, the best way to get over any breakup is to sleep with multiple women. Just f***ing multiple women will just make you a lot happier, right? Well, I kind of did that, and honestly, that wasn't really good for my mental health. And then the stage 2 was like, okay, Kevin, you know, relationships, forget about relationships, just focus on yourself, focus on being the best person, and focus on your business. And I took it to the stream, and it's pretty much how I've been operating for the last 10 years, where I just focus on my business. I avoided all relationships, I avoided any commitment, because deep down inside I always felt like, you know, what's the point of investing in these relationships when people are always going to leave you? So that was the second thing. But as you can tell from my previous relationship, that wasn't healthy and that wasn't good for my mental health. So I'm going on to step 3. And step 3 is what I'm going to talk about today, where, you know, I realized neither of these mindsets are very, very healthy for my coping and for me getting over relationships. And I need a better coping mechanism. I need to do something different where I'm not holding on to all these past relationships and all this anger from all my relationships as well, where I can healthily move on from relationship to relationship. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. And what's really interesting is, even though I'm very sad sometimes, I find glimpses of myself being super happy or super excited just going on this path as well. I wouldn't say I'm 100% recovered or even 10% recovered, but these sort of things are essential if I want to have a healthy relationship in the future. After all, you know, people say that relationships are like multiplication, not addition. You don't try to find half a person and half a person to make one full relationship. You must come as a whole person and multiply it, and you get a kick-ass relationship. So in terms of myself, I'm really trying to be that whole person and have a healthy relationship with myself as well, showing that self-compassion for myself and self-love and all this stuff that you read in books or you hear about it. And maybe if you're coming from an Asian background, you're probably like, yo, that is some white people shit. But honestly, I've been feeling a lot happier, and I want to share my 3 things that I'm investing into that are helping me kind of cope with my mental health and my happiness and helping me cope with this really difficult time. So if you guys are going through a really tough relationship or anything like that, this video is going to help you out, and I hope it helps you feel like you belong in a community of people who are just trying to better themselves as well. So let's kind of dive into it. So the first part of recovering from my breakup is actually investing into my mental health. You know, growing up, mental health was always a really touchy subject, right? I don't know, maybe Asians, they don't really believe in mental health, or just like suck it up. And I think, like, you know, if you're going through like war-torn countries and all that sort of stuff, totally makes sense how our parents handle trauma. They were going through some major crap in their life and they just had to suck it up. They didn't have resources like therapy and all this sort of stuff. But more recently, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing like a lot of time why I felt so much pain and I never felt like I moved on from my relationships, because I never really took the time to kind of process my feelings. And that's one of the weaknesses I think in Asian culture. Don't get me wrong, I love being Asian. I think like in terms of achievement and doing all this sort of stuff, like that pressure really pushes us. But in terms of that self-compassion and being being nicer to ourselves, and that negative self-talk, there's a lot of that in like the Asian culture as well. And so recently I've been tapping more into my feelings and stuff. So I've been investing into 3 things: therapy. I'm also taking Mark Rowe's breakup course, and I actually been spending a lot more time with my neurohacking coach, Eugene Choi. I would highly recommend you check all 3 of them out. I'll leave descriptions below as well. But in terms of therapy, I talked about it in another video, which I'll link in the cards as well. But in terms of therapy, one of the things I've been just learning is being more aware of my feelings and just feeling things out rather than doing, because us men, we always want to fix shit, right? Like we always want to do things, run around, do things and stuff like that, and just to avoid the hurt. Like what I realized during therapy is like my first inclination is just to drown myself at work so I don't have to feel, so I don't have to process these emotions. But in reality, that's actually the last thing I'm supposed to do. And through therapy, we've been able to identify kind of like my typical patterns when I'm going through stressful emotional moments as well. The second thing is I'm doing Mark Rowe's breakup course, and I'm actually in the middle of it right now. It was recommended by a few friends. Actually, when I wrote that Instagram post, a lot of people reached out to me and they're just like, you know, you should listen to Mark Rowe's. He has a great podcast and all that. And so I just decided, hey, he has a breakup course, might as well invest into it, because personally for me, I've never been really good with breakups. I've always been kind of bad with loss. I don't think anybody's good at like dealing with loss, but you know, I always want a healthier way than just like listening to emo music, like sleeping with women, going through these boy like tactics as well. Like I know that's not the healthy way to cope as well. And then the third thing I've been doing is like neurohacking, and with my friend Eugene, and he's been talking about like, you know, what are the core beliefs that we have about ourselves and these negative feedback loops that we have in our heads and stuff. And he's been helping me become a lot more aware, and I'm just super grateful that I have all 3. And honestly, it's been really expensive on this stuff is not cheap whatsoever, but it's been a game changer in my life and has been making me feel a little bit happier, or not happier sometimes, but feeling like I'm on the right path as well. I notice myself being more empathetic toward people. I notice myself just being a better human overall as well. So there's that. And I especially notice myself being a lot more empathetic to those around me too, because now that I'm more in touch with my emotions at the moment, like I can be there for other people too and help be emotionally there. Whereas in the past, I'd just be like, oh dude, just read this book and you'll feel better as well, which isn't always the best solution as well. Number 2 is spending more time with the people I love. You know, this sounds kind of corny, but you know, the other day, like, you know, when I was in Boston, I was spending, you know, time with my brother's dog, and he's such a sweetheart and stuff like that. I've been just spending a lot of time with him. I've been spending a lot of time with like a lot of my friends, and more recently, as I've been making a lot more money through my business, so funny, as soon as I went through my breakup, my income started soaring. I just started sharing the wealth, and I started taking my really good friends out to eat. The ones that were there for me, I really kept that in mind, and I'd just be like, hey, let's go out to eat, man. It's on me. And I've been spending these like $200, $300 dinners. Obviously, it's a business expense because we talk about my business and stuff, and a lot of them are my digital marketing friends as well. But we've been just kicking it, and it's been really great. Spending people who kind of uplift you and who are emotionally there. Like, I'm not saying I was right or wrong in the relationship, but spending time with people like that have a safe space for you, especially when you do very entrepreneurial stuff, when you're always building, creating, and all this sort of stuff. It's nice just being able to just spend time where you aren't expected to perform, and people just accept you the way that you are because they just enjoy your company. And that has been really game changer for me too. So a lot of my friends, my family, I've been hitting a lot of people up, talking to people I haven't talked to in a long time as well. And that's been helping me a lot. I've also been doing like a lot of physical activity like jujitsu with like my friends and stuff like that, or going on hikes or walks. It's been really cool. And most recently we've been hitting up some bougie type of restaurants too, just to see my friends super happy and just enjoying experiences together as well. And then the third thing that I've been focusing on is spending time alone. You know, one of my friends was like, hey Kevin, do you want to talk about what's going on in the relationship? And honestly, at some point I was like, I actually don't feel like talking to anyone right now because I need to spend this time alone. It goes back to what I was learning in therapy, where a lot of time I'm always focusing on doing, but I don't spend enough time just in the feels, right? Feeling out the emotion, feeling that being alone, this breakup, it sucks. And it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to go through these emotions. They're natural. And the only way to get past this breakup emotionally is if I feel, right? Talking to people, I talk to people every single day through the phone when I'm closing deals, or when I'm even talking to my therapist or anything like that. I talk so much every single day, and I'm even talking to YouTube at the moment, y'all, as well. There's only so much talking I can do, but at the end of the day, there's no substitute for spending time alone and processing your feelings as well. One of the things that my therapist and I have been talking about is self-care, where it's not super active, because let's be honest, working out is really great, but powerlifting and jujitsu aren't the most relaxing things in the world. So how can I give back to myself without having to interact with people? And we identified, like for me, I really like taking long walks, right? Like an old Chinese man, right? I really like listening to, while on my walks, I love these AirPods, which I recently bought. I'm going to do another video on this, but I love my AirPods and listening to Rap Caviar on Spotify or some podcasts as well. Actually, like I like Rap Caviar and all these hip hop like playlists as well. That's something that makes me really happy. And then I love walking around the city and then going into bookstores and just reading the books, maybe buying a few books as well. And that really fills up my cup. And spending that time alone is kind of like me time, which is amazing as well. So it's been helping me feel a lot happier too. Anyways, those are kind of the things that I've been really focusing on in terms of recovering with my breakup. And I'm kind of curious, many of you guys have gone through breakups yourselves. How have you handled your breakup in the past? Or if you're going through a breakup right now, what are some of the things that you guys are doing as well? I'd love to kind of hear from you. And chances are, if you like this video, then most likely you'll like my video where I talk about me being an Asian American and getting therapy. As we know, therapy is kind of a taboo subject in Asian culture. So with that being said, I actually shot this video about me being Asian American and getting therapy as well. If you're Asian, you'll probably relate to it as well. I'll leave it in the cards. But anyways, thank you for watching. Stay bold, stay kick ass, take care of other people. Peace.